Welcome back to the Blue Way Talk Show. As you can see, I am your host today, LaNee Javette, Mogul in Training. I have Lynn Richardson with me today. She's going to be talking to us, as well as Dr. Will Moreland. You guys have seen him on before. We're going to, just in case you didn't catch our episode yesterday, we're going to go back through and do some introductions of who we're with today. So, Miss Lynn Richardson.
Okay, sure. I'm Lynn Richardson with Lynn Richardson Ministries, doing executive producing plays, musicals, events, just bringing great entertainment to the scene in Phoenix.
Okay. Dr. Will.
I am Dr. Will Moreland, CEO of Will Moreland International. We are a leadership consultant firm, one of the top in Phoenix, helping individuals discover their leadership potential and organizations improve their leadership potential.
Cool. So what we're going to be doing nowadays on the Blue Way Talk Show, not the LaNee Javette Talk Show, but the Blue Way Talk Show, and the mogul and training piece of it is talking to moguls, up-and-coming moguls, people who are also doing training in entrepreneur type of ventures, such as what I do. You got to hear what Lynn Richardson does and what Dr. Will does. So we're just going to jump right in. What would you say, how do you know if someone is an entrepreneur? If us as moguls in training, or myself as a mogul in training, how would we tell someone else if they are entrepreneur material? What would you say? We'll start with you.
Okay, sure. Really speaking from my own experience, I was in the corporate world in healthcare for 15 years. And the first time that I did a play, it was a musical production at the Arizona Broadway Theater, sold it out. And the first time that I did that, I had such a passion. And I knew that at that moment, that's what I was supposed to do. There wasn't really a calculated rhyme or reason for me. I left a really lucrative job at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona to pursue a passion because it was so deep. And I think that from right out the gate, there has to be a passion, there has to be a desire, because ultimately if you're doing something that you're really not that into, then it's not going to be successful because you're going to quit. So the passion for me was enough drive to make me feel comfortable in getting a plan to transition out of that job to do what I love to do.
So plan and passion.
Absolutely.
Those are the two
Absolutely.
things you played on. Dr. Will?
I think that everyone has to be an entrepreneur, right? But in the traditional sense, I echo what Lynn says. For me, I was in the military and I was considered a fast tracker. I was getting promoted very fast, but I just had on the inside of my heart that I had to be doing something else. And so if someone asks me, I tell them, if what's in your heart is more bigger than what's in your hand, meaning that job, that tangible, what you see, if what's in your heart is, if you're working all day, but you just keep thinking what's in your heart, that's when you know you had a bug. That's when you just have to go and risk it, because I tell everybody, go risk it, because you can always come back and be average.
True. What would you say to those people? Like, I know a lot of entrepreneurs right now recently have been created out of the recession. So sometimes you don't necessarily, what if you don't have a passion and you just have to figure something out? What would be your plan? Should you start with something that you know how to do? Should you do something? Because I know sometimes people, especially us as entrepreneurs, we get motivated by money. What would you say to somebody with money is a factor per se?
Well, I can tell you, initially when I walked away from that job, money was a factor. And what I did was I pulled on the gifts that I had. Even though producing the shows was my ultimate goal, I also sang. So I recorded a CD. And so the CD made money from that. So I utilized the gifts that I had, because again, I didn't want to start something like Love Mary Kay, wear Mary Kay. However, I wouldn't be a good Mary Kay consultant, no matter how big the pitch was. So I still utilized the gifts that I had, or the things that I thought that I was good at. And those things helped propel me to have the finances to do some of the larger things.
Good answer.
Right. And so I would always tell people, look at your skill set, what you've already been doing, that job that you've been on for 10 years that you hate. You've learned something, right? So take that, turn it
very
into
good point.
something where you can make a profit. I tell people all the time, go after what's profitable and not what your passion says, because from the standpoint, passion in the beginning doesn't always pay. So for instance, you leave that job that this is what I'm an expert in, I got trained in this, but I hate it, but you're good at it. So get paid to do that, then you can transfer over to your passion. So just start with your skill set. What do people always say you can do? What do people applaud that you always do? Start there and build from there.
So ultimately, you're pulling out your genius.
There you go. You're pulling out your genius.
Ultimately, you're
Yeah.
pulling out your genius.
Right.
Why don't you tell them about your book?
So I wrote this book because everybody kept asking me, Will, how did you go from Compton, California? You were on the brink of going to jail and just living a messed up life. How did you do it? How did you transform your life? And so when I really sat down and I started to look at what did I really do, I sat down and found out that there really was a formula in play. And so I wrote Genius Potential. And I really believe that everyone has genius potential. And when I say genius potential, a lot of people think about Aristotle and they start thinking about the Steve Jobs of the world. But I believe each of us are endowed with a special gift. And when you tap into that special gift, one of my favorite books says, if you just stir up your gift, it'll make room for you. And that's what that genius is. Like Lynn, she sings and she's a producer. She's stirring up that gift. And so when I wrote Genius Potential, I wanted to give people a simple framework that they could follow, and then also take them behind the scenes, because you guys know as entrepreneurs, everybody sees the glory, but they don't know the story.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so I wanted to take them behind the scenes and say, yeah, you're going to cry. Yes, you're going to be frustrated. Yes, everybody's going to turn their back on you. Everybody's going to say you're crazy for leaving that
Come
job.
on.
What's wrong with you? But when that genius is on the inside of you and you've tapped into it, nothing else satisfies. You got to pursue it. And so that's what the book is about. It's a simple book. It hit the bestseller, so we're just excited about that. And I just recommend, not because it's my book, but it's so simple that it lays out a plan that anybody can start where they are and get to where they want to go.
I've actually read the book, so I can agree with him. Where can they get the book from? Where can they follow you? I'm a big fan of Dr. Will.
Amazon. You can go to drwillspeaks.com. You can purchase the book there. Definitely follow me on Facebook at Dr. Will Speaks, on Instagram, Twitter. Everything is under Dr. Will Speaks.
Good deal. What about you, Lynn? If somebody wants to keep up with you, follow the plays, keep up with you as an entrepreneur, how can they find you?
We're on Facebook under Lynn Richardson Ministries. You can also follow us on Twitter at LynnRich42. And our website, lynnrichardson.com. And it's Lynn with one N, so Lyn, lynnrichardson.com.
One last question for you guys. The question that I get the most is, do you think that entrepreneurs should do a balance with regards to working their job and pursuing their passion, or should they leave their job and just jump into it? You jumped into entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
What kind of advice would you give someone out there that's trying to decide, is it time to leave their job?
I think it's really based on your situation. It's a case by case. Definitely, if you have small children, you have to really consider that. If you're the man in the house, I think you need to consider that. Is everybody signing up for this journey? When I did it, I jumped out there, and my wife was like, well, I didn't sign up for this. I need some stability, and so I failed to have that conversation with her. So definitely look at what situation you're in and base your decision off of that. You don't need 100% agreements, but let everybody know kind of, hey, this is what I really believe I need to be doing.
Okay.
And for me, it was a flip side of that, because my husband has a really good job, but I made sure that he was in agreement. And I think what Dr. Will was talking about, as far as it's a joint venture, especially if you're married and have children, you want to be in agreement with it. I would have never done it without his support. So that's always important too.
Good deal. Well, thank you both so much for coming on today, for sitting with me.
Sure.
We're going to be bringing you guys up and coming. Well, they're actually not up and coming. They've actually already came. But we'll still be sitting down
I'm
talking
still
to
coming. I'm
working
still
on it.
coming. I got a
We'll be talking
billion
to
again. I'm
moguls
still coming.
that are in all of our situations, coming to you, bringing you information, talking to you about the things that we're doing, giving you tips. So keep tuning in to the Blue Way Talk Show. I'm your host today, LaNee Javette, with Lynn Richardson, Dr. Bill Moreland, and we'll see you in the next
Take
segment.
care.
Bye-bye.